It's a brilliant building. Right, James.
Hi.
How you doing? So,
Good, thanks.
well, okay, take me through. Take me through whatever you feel. What are your best pieces? What do we want to know?
We're starting here with just a general overview of just some of the people, the organisations and the companies involved in photography in Birmingham.
Right.
The little things are kind of the most fascinating to me. You've got medals issued by Birmingham Photography Society.
Wow.
Were given to their people who won competitions.
Oh wow.
And the solid silver and bronze medals, which are just beautiful, and they're made by Vortons in Birmingham. So they're made. Birmingham was always a centre of jewellery and metal making.
That little thing down there.
There's a brilliant little token there by one of the earliest photographers in Birmingham.
That is so beautiful.
The Warwickshire Photographic Survey was unique. They aimed in the 19th century to record the buildings that were going to get lost and the traditions that were lost in Warwickshire. And over a period of 50 years, they took tens of thousands of photographs of the county and of Birmingham, of buildings that are just lost now.
Yes. So what have we got here? Spoons.
They're spoons, again, made by Birmingham jewellers.
Yes.
You've got sort of Vortons who created these, just give away as prizes for photographic societies, but they're beautiful. Possibly one of the earliest photographs we've got of Birmingham, of St Philip's Cathedral. Probably dates from the 1840s, but unknown. But it's an amazing part of the history.
Beautiful. Is this? That's just, yeah, fabulous, isn't it?
Yes. And here we have a couple of. These are two of my all-time favourite items. They're union cases made by John Smith. He was in Constitution Hill, and he's the only known British maker of these type of cases. Mostly were American. They're made of gutta percha, which is kind of a combination of shellac and ash, all stuck together, compressed into a mould to form this hard, almost plastic coating. And you look at these and you think these were made in about 1859 to 1860. Wow. And they're in perfect condition still. And they were there to protect the photograph. It was a valuable item, a photo was at the time, and they wanted to make it look nice and protected.
They're beautiful.
Yes.
Beautiful. So, stereo views.
Yes.
So
every number of years you get a 3D photography or 3D comes into fashion, and it was no different here. What you've got here is Birmingham had got a guy called Alfred Pumphrey who literally went around the whole of the UK in the 1860s taking photographs of well-known places, towns, mountains, and taking photographs and then duplicating it to form stereo views that were sold throughout the country. And Birmingham seems to have got quite a good heritage of stereo views, so not just by him, but these are all ones that have been taken of Birmingham or by Birmingham companies. Obviously Aston Hall features quite a lot in a lot of them because it's just such an iconic Birmingham building. But I love the one here of just Stratford Road in Sparkbrook, just a general scene someone's taken but thought to make it into a stereo view.
Brilliant.
It's wonderful. And it's to think, say some of these, like the one here of the Town Hall, showing Christchurch in the background, probably taken about 1859 to 1869, when the company actually were based. He's probably taken it outside where his company had its headquarters. But this guy travelled the whole country taking photos.
Beautiful. Right, got to get to cameras.
Yes.
Got to get to cameras. Right, is this where it starts?
Well, this is what I've done here is a display.
Let me just zoom out a bit. I don't turn this thing off. Go on. You've done.
What we've got here is I did a display of cameras from each decade, from
right.
the 1870s through to the 1960s.
Right, let's look at 1870s.
1870s, this is one of the earliest cameras J. Lancaster and Son made. At the end of the 19th century, they were the largest camera company in the world. And this is one of their very early cameras, probably dating from 1873.
And it's
You can tell because the company started in 1836. They were opticians. They made optical equipment.
right.
other things.
Okay.
But this badge on it still says they're an optician. But that's what they thought of themselves as.
Oh, right. Okay. And they thought of themselves as the camera was part of the optics.
Yes.
Yes. Makes sense. I'm just looking at the dovetails on the top of there, and they. I'm not going to say they're just a bit big. They're a bit not what I'd expect a furniture to make.
The thing is about Lancaster
So
is
I'm zooming wrong. Go on.
that Lancaster, they didn't manufacture cameras themselves. There was a saying at the time that every company in Birmingham made for Lancaster.
Right.
So
okay.
Lancaster they would have got somebody, a company around the Drury Quarter or Birmingham area, to make the brass
Yes.
fittings. They would have got a company to make the wooden cabinet. They didn't make these.
Right,
themselves.
okay.
They would have got people they thought were specialised to make these parts for them.
And this happened in woodworking in some areas of woodworking as well. Company called Buck, and Bucks were a tool, more of a wholesaler.
Yes.
More of a. But yeah, Bucks used to get others to make parts for theirs.
Yes.
So then they were assembled by somebody, and that was
Yeah,
and
this is
it
what
had their
Lancaster
name on
did.
it. Okay, so that's fascinating. And this is the one that Joe has said, "Oh, Jamie, you've got to see the rounded one." So
Yes.
this is just.
This is a rover. It's a detective camera or a disguise camera with a leather case on. It could have just looked like a doctor's bag, maybe a
Wow.
lunchbox, because there was still the whole skepticism of photography, and as to it being subversive almost. So some people would have gone around the streets and not wanted to be seen taking photos. And the shutter is underneath, so you could have held this camera in its leather case under your arm, and just
okay.
all you'd have to do is turn the shutter underneath it, then press the button, and the plate would then fall to the bottom
Wow.
for later developing.
What's sort of fascinated me is the fact that I've seen a number of broken ones, and the splits across
Yes.
there. It's very normal to see. Do you see that a lot?
Yes, there's a lot of cameras, especially at the bottom of cameras, you get wooden splits.
But it's gorgeous. I'd love to make one of those. It looks brilliant, and actually compared to the Walcott ones I made, that's twice the size. So it actually looks a bit easier in a way, and the curved bits are easy to do.
The curve is just to make it.
It is, and they're not hard to do really. Right. 1890s.
So the 1890s, we have a stereo camera that took two images, so you could create the stereo views.
Wow.
But it's weird thinking that both these cameras were made at exactly the same time in Birmingham. A nice big wooden plate camera, and this much smaller plate camera made by Criterion, who were in Stechford at the time.
So thinking about the insides of this, is it parted off?
Yeah, it's got a
partition through the
it's
middle.
got a partition in the middle.
Okay.
Septum, that's the word.
Oh, okay, yeah, that
It
makes
has-
sense.
Yeah, it has a septum in the middle. And then what would have happened at the time is you could have then have bought a front lens plate that you then remove, which would just have a single lens.
Right.
You take the septum out and put it, and it could be turned into a normal
Gotcha,
single
yeah.
camera as well.
Wow, brilliant. Oh, I'm loving it. Oh. Just take me wherever you want. Just tell me it's up to you. These just look so good, don't they?
Interestingly though, these are Lancaster cameras, but they're not made in Birmingham technically.
Oh, okay.
They were made probably by the German company Huttig or ICA, and without any badging, then brought over to the UK, where Lancaster put their own badge on them and sold them as their own. It happened with a number of camera companies in the UK that they did that. They bought German unmarked cameras and labelled them as their own.
And we're used to seeing that now, aren't we?
Yes.
We're so used to seeing that now.
Yes.
Oh, this is so what's this one here?
That's probably an 1870s Marlowe.
Is
camera.
it? I've put some details. See these little tiny bits of detail on the mahogany.
Yes.
I've done some of that on Joe's camera, on the Watson camera. And these rack things are a pain in the neck.
Oh yes.
Oh, good grief.
I've had to try and replace one or two of those on cameras too.
I've had
There's
fun
just
with
the
those.
fact that all these have different ways of closing and opening. It's fascinating. If you look at the camera,
Yes.
say if you watch me, you kind of okay. You
Does that fold out this way?
Folds out. We can then
Wind it in, because you have to wind it in.
Okay, let's take it to a higher, better level. Wind it in all the way.
And have you got? Do you know what sort of oils and things should be used on those for? I mean, I'm using light machine oil.
No, I don't.
Which makes sense. Okay.
So that folds backwards.
Yes.
That folds there, and screws into that. But the fact that they're beautifully made.
And this is finger jointing. That's what this is called. Oh, hang on. Is it? Let me just get the camera phone on that. Yeah, this is finger jointing where they're straight, and
Yes.
whereas that one is dovetailed. So you can see the dove's tail on the top. That's beautiful. And this is 18.
But probably 1870s, late 1870s.
Wow.
I say a lot of the companies, the higher quality ones you can tell because the wood and the grain on the cameras and usually the grain on the lens boards at the front match in the direction. So you can, so it kind of. It's
the thing
they think of everything to make it look as perfect as possible.
And the thing is, as a woodworker, if you're making one and you're using all of the parts of that plank for that one, that's no problem.
Yeah.
If you're making batches and you're making a batch of, say, 6 cameras, and you accidentally mix up a couple as you're going along, you will have different colours.
Yes.
That's the way it is. And sometimes it can be that the plates can be left somewhere else, so that they're covered up more, they don't get as much daylight.
Yes.
And that makes such a difference to the colouring. Looks great.
Yes, this one is a lovely looking camera.
And what was Joe attracted to? What was, because I love what Joe does. Did she come around here and?
Yes.
After that, what else? Yeah. What else was?
She was just generally looking at.
She's
the wooden camera.
I bet she was in heaven, wasn't she?
This is quite good because this is a Lancaster International camera, and what's good is the fact we have the full plate camera size,
yes,
the half plate camera size, and the quarter plate camera size. We have all 3 sizes of camera they made, so you can see it's exactly the same camera, just different sizes. Although it's.
And actually, looking at it, and this is the difference. Look, you've got beautiful little dovetails on the top of here. So yes, you've got the bigger camera, but you've also got the better quality case.
Yes.
Whereas these are finger joints.
Yes.
And that one is the same size finger joint. Yes. So that's just different lengths of material, and jointed the same way. But then when you get to that one, oh no, it's dovetailed.
Yes.
So you are paying that much more. I should imagine that was quite a bit more than.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have been.
Beautiful. I love their little.
The Ivorine plaques. They usually fall out or get lost in a lot of them. But fortunately for Lancaster, they're very iconic looking cameras. You can tell in Lancaster. But so if they're missing it, you still know it's still one of theirs. But the plaques are lovely inside.
And was Lancaster the biggest?
At the end of the 19th century, they're the largest camera company in the world.
Wow.
With sales of about 250,000 cameras.
Oh my life, that's a lot.
Interestingly, at the end of the 19th century, they experimented with, rather than brass on them, you see all the fittings are aluminium.
No, is it?
They're aluminium fittings on them. The lens is still brass.
Yes, you can still see the brass on it.
But all of the fittings are aluminium. It was lighter and thought to be slightly cheaper, and it was something that they brought in for a few years.
Oxidisation is the problem with the way it oxidises compared to brass. Brass just tarnishes, whereas aluminium just gets rough and doesn't feel as good, does it? Well, they're nice. They're really good.
Now these are actually enlargers, so that you could create duplications of photographs.
Right, gotcha.
I'll move the camera out of the way itself. So these are both enlargers done by Lancaster, and again, you look at them and the quality of them is superb. They are small pieces of furniture virtually, combining metal and wood.
Oh, this is beautiful. Look what they've got here. So this is a bridle joint. So where the centre part of that one is coming through, and then the two outsides of here comes through. So that's a bridle joint on there, which is different to others, which is great. These actually look like they're pinned.
Yes, possibly.
These are probably pinned. And I suppose they would have had different levels of quality, wouldn't they?
Yes.
So, you know, if you're paying for bridle joints, that would have still probably been done by machine, but that would have been more expensive than doing that. I love all these little brass plates. I'm a little bit tired of brass plates at the moment. I've done a lot of fitting brass plates. This is great. Okay, now what is that?
That's a magic lantern.
I said to Lucy, my daughter, I just said I think that's a magic lantern. Oh, now I've got some of these plates at home where there's like where there's say 4 images in a row.
Yes. Oh yeah, that type. Yeah, certainly. Yeah, I've got some of those as well. These are ones that were standard magic lantern size plates, which are 3 1/4 by 3 1/4 images. And I've got a number here which are all Birmingham related. So if I hold that to the light better, you can see that one's an advertising plate of Kodak of Cadbury. That they did.
Beautiful.
But say
Beautiful.
the magic lantern itself would probably date from the end of the 19th century, but of course times change. So rather than acetylene burners inside or other form of lighting, it then was electrified later on.
Right.
So it's actually you can still it still works as a magic lantern slide.
Wow.
I can't really see it projected because I haven't got the distance and the lighting really.
So
But it still works as a magic lantern, which if we had the lighting would be better. But beautiful
great.
with the brass lens on.
And
it.
this is all your collection.
This is all my collection.
You've got it
yes.
really bad, haven't you?
Yes,
Have you got any room for anything else?
Not much. No.
I love that. I love that. Oh, look, I can see into it. You can see it.
Yes.
Oh, see, this is digital meeting. Look at that. Wow. Oh, and there's something going on there.
Yeah,
Is that part of the Cadbury building or something?
That one is.
Just another one.
I'm trying to think where this one's. Oh, that's Moseley.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's Magic Lantern slide. It's labelled as Kings Norton, but it's actually. If I turn it the right way around, it's Moseley Village. You see St Mary's Church. That's the centre part of Moseley, where you've got the sort of the little triangle
Right.
by the church, the Cuban embassy, the Weatherspoons.
Wow.
Changed a bit in the last
I bet it has.
140 years.
I bet it has. This is fabulous. Oh, James, I'm so glad I've come. I nearly didn't come because I'm feeling a bit. We had COVID a few weeks ago, and struggling with it
Yes.
still. So, and I was so tired. I wasn't sure. So what's?
There's some more magic lanterns up here done by the same company, Lancaster.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So it's just a whole metal and glass inside, and the brass lenses.
They're beautiful.
And then underneath we've got a lot of projectors that many people in the 1950s, 60s, 70s probably had at school, made by Aldis in Birmingham. Then we've got things like Chad Valley, the toy company based in Harborne.
Oh, right.
Did
Okay.
little magic lanterns, and they did projectors as well.
I saw these coming in. In fact, the granddaughter looked at those and said, "Oh, can I?" And I was just like, "No."
But they're fun, so that's why I brought them, but they're made in Birmingham. They are a part of our photographic history.
They are.
You could still put a slide in there to show them, but they did pre-done slides and a lot of TV shows and Disney.
I've got at home one of the cereal companies did a Toy Story magic lantern thing, and if you collected 10 cereal boxes and you sent off for it, so I've got one of those at home, which is a Toy Story one with something like 6 character pictures that you can slide in, and I just thought that's it. I thought that was fascinating, the fact that it was a modern you know, Toy Story, the cowboy and the spaceman, and then it's in this old-fashioned sort of method of viewing.
Yes.
I've got to have it.
Yes.
So what have you got
So
here?
this is an Aldis portable 35mm slide projector. So we push it down. There's a light source at the back.
Oh wow!
And this is part of just a collection I've got of 1990s Birmingham 35mm slides, showing the city as it was 30 years ago.
That's gorgeous, isn't it?
It's a beautiful piece. I mean, I just love the styling.
What period again? Sorry.
This is 1960s.
And it looks 60s, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's just the
but
colour.
It's also got that a 30s sort of Bakelite
Yes.
sort of look about it as well. With
Yes.
very nice.
Yeah, it's. I do love.
That's beautiful.
The styling of some of the items as well. You can kind of see the earlier ones, which are kind of metal, space age, 1950s, through to the stylish 1960s, through to the sort of the end of the 60s, where you're getting into something looking a bit more modern.
Yes.
So I love sort of seeing these from each era.
The difference between these two is
about 20 years, but it's totally
other
different
world,
style.
totally
yes.
different world. Yeah. That's got a lot going for it, hasn't it? What's going on in there?
Yeah, you've got a difference. In there you've got the spare bulb that's stored into its case.
Right.
You've got the 35mm thing there, and then you've also got there you can put a reel in, so you could actually show types of films if you just turn them.
Oh,
Or
okay.
as a slide, or on a sort of a reel, so it's like a slideshow.
That's very 60s, isn't it? Look at that. Look at that.
Ugly, so some people might think of it as ugly, but it's beautiful in its era.
It's a snapshot of
Yes.
time, isn't it? It
Yes.
really is. It's a snapshot in time.
I mean, the company Aldis, although most people know them as a projector maker in the 50s and 60s, most schools had them.
Yeah.
They actually started out as a lens company.
Right, okay.
Hugh Lancelot, who started Aldis, was thought of as one of the top lens designers in the world at the time. Very, very influential and clever in what he did with camera lenses. And then during the war, they became famous because they made a lot of munitions and parts for the British Army.
Wow.
They made gun sight telescopes, they made sniper rifle sights, but most famously they made the Aldis lamp, which was used to do signalling to ships.
Oh, okay, yes.
Which was sold the world over.
Yes.
But then after Hugh died and they stopped being a lens company, they turned more to doing the projectors.
And you've put all this together?
Yes.
You've been busy, haven't you?
Yeah. Everything. So every item here is made in Birmingham, and say all of the
But I mean,
all of the posters, the information has all been put together.
Yeah, you've done all that. And are you going to record? Is there some way you can record some of this? I mean, I'm capturing some of it on video, which is great. Is there some way you're going to record some of this or put it out there on something?
I'm going to try to.
I would.
I'm going to just say I'll try and get photographs of everything.
Yes.
But hopefully the idea would be to write an actual history
You
of
do,
all
yes.
the products.
Yeah.
And of the photography industry in Birmingham.
So I've got to look at your tripod, Sherwood Arrow tripod.
Show was started by two friends in the 1940s in Hall Green.
Okay.
And Sherwood's is still going today. And they made this tripod. There is an apocryphal story that Edmund Hillary took this when he first climbed Mount Everest. Not this particular tripod, but he had a Sherwood Arrow tripod. It's not, you can't sort of, there's no record of what he took up with him to Everest to be able to conclusively prove it.
Yeah.
It's one of the stories that goes about that he took it because it was very lightweight, it made of wood, so mostly of wood, so it wasn't affected by the...
Can I touch it?
Yes, certainly, yes. So it wasn't affected by the cold at the top of...
Do you know what wood it is?
I don't know what wood it is,
I think it's oak. And the reason I'm saying that...
I would be able to find out, though,
I think
from the company.
Oh, okay. I think it's oak because there's some... I can see some reflections coming down here that's actually looking rippled, and it looks like quarter sawn oak. And if I look at some of the details here in the colour, I'd say it's oak. Without a doubt. Without a doubt. There's more flecks there that you only get from really good quality oak. That's it. and down here. It's called silvering or flex, and it's but that's got it running all the way down the side of that one, and it's beautiful. More cameras.
Yes. I mean, this one's they're just standard cameras at the time, even though we now think of these as beautiful. This one is a Gibbons quarter plate camera, but interestingly, there's a Marlowe camera that looks exactly the same. Marlowe's were known, this is Marlowe Brothers' camera actually next to it. Early on, Marlowe's didn't put their own badges on cameras.
Right, okay.
They made a blank. And it seems that this is probably a camera made by Marlowe's blank that William Gibbons has then put his own name on to make it look like he made it.
Well, I collect woodworking tools, and I see that all the time in period pieces. I see it all the time that somebody would make it and somebody else would badge it, and that's the way it is.
It was only later on that Marlowe's thought about putting their own name on and selling it as their own camera.
Yes, when they realised how well they were doing.
Yes.
There's some lovely inserted pieces of brass on there.
Yeah, it is a beautiful camera.
I've just done a video, James, of Joe's Watson's camera. I made a plate holder for it. I think it's called a plate holder.
Yes.
So she's got like a focusing screen, and then the plate holder comes in, and fitting the top plates on the plate holder where the sliding panel comes in and out. I've done it properly. I watched the Gandolfi video that's out there that's about 5 minutes long, and I'd seen some other things, and I just thought I've got to do this properly, and it's wonderful to fit the brass like that. These are great parts.
Yes.
Great parts. Right.
So we've got a couple of, and the tripod here is called the Ashford Giraffe.
Yes, I can see.
You can see giraffe.
Giraffe just there.
So actually, I'm trying to see if you've got the. No, we haven't on this smaller one that I've got here. I actually have a picture of a giraffe on, but this was a world famous tripod because it doesn't look much, but it's just so strong. It's so light because it's beautifully made.
The complexity of this is next level, isn't it?
But you can see here later on though they must have had an accident and had to do repairs to it.
Oh dear.
So, but it's still being used. I mean, there's a famous advert from Ashford's where they have a picture of 3 of these cameras, 3 of these tripods, with another tripod on the top, and there's a man sitting on top of the tripod on the top to show how strong that these were, that they could hold the weight of someone.
They're brilliant. They're brilliant. Love them. This is good. Banks Chemist. So because I love that.
There's weirdly, it's one of these bugbears I've got is there are very few photographs of the companies at the time that were actually involved in the photographic industry.
Yeah.
Now, Morris Banks and Co. was started in Bullring in the early 19th century, and they were a chemists.
Yes.
Now, this photo is taken on, I think it's number 3 to 4 High Street, Birmingham. Right. So, High Street now you think of as where Waterstones is and Marks and Spencer's and Primark. But originally, High Street went right down to through where the Bullring is now, until it virtually joined the top of Digbeth. And so this is taken from there, number 3 to 4. And Banks Chemist were one of the very early companies. They realised that photography was important and they could make money from it. Yeah. So they really concentrated on it. So this photo is wonderful. That it just says they're a photographic and analytical chemist with all of the items in the window.
Beautiful.
But it is.
But you're right. Not enough was recorded, was this?
No.
And now we're recording everything.
Yes.
But in a way, everybody's Instagram age, Twitter, whatever, Facebook. All these images are going all over. But not necessarily the normal life. No. It's this facade that we've all got. I don't mind putting warts and all on my stuff, but it's strange what's happening now, isn't it, compared to what's happening then? I mean, a photo like that of maybe people working there, I would think you'd find loads of those, but
No, you
Just
don't.
wouldn't happen.
No, you don't. Most of the photographs you get of Birmingham involve Aston Hall, the council house, or the town hall.
And that's it.
Because they were the public buildings, the important looking buildings. It's lovely to see ones where you find just the general people.
Yeah.
Or
Actually, I like that.
The less affluent areas, the slums.
Yes, I like the stereo one
Yes.
of over there. That was lovely.
There's one of the stereo views that we've got children playing in the Chamberlain Fountain.
Do we go here or do we go
We can
there?
go here.
Go here. What's
This
this?
is a display of Coronet Camera Company.
Birmingham.
Yes.
Good
Started in
grief.
Great Hampton Street and then moved to Summer Lane. They made millions of cameras. They were known to make cheap cameras. It's what they did generally.
Yeah.
They made cameras that parents, whatever their affordability, could buy their kids for a first camera for Christmas. And it's what they were known for. Some of their cameras they did in conjunction with other companies to giveaways, such as with cereals or promotion.
Yes. Yes. Like I was
They
on
did one
about.
with
Yeah.
Outspanned, the orange juice company.
No
or
way.
With Boys World magazine as a part of a subscription to that magazine.
Oh, they're beautiful.
This one.
I love the box.
Made for George Nunes. George Nunes were a newspaper publisher, so that probably would have been given away or cheaply if you had tokens for a newspaper or something.
Right. Okay.
Very good at the marketing, but they made their cameras in the hundreds of thousands and millions, and they were sold worldwide. I particularly do love the boxes that they all come in.
You love the boxes
colours.
because I'm going to say you love the boxes because you'll find 30 cameras to every one box.
Yes.
Yes,
It's
because
so rare
nobody
to
kept the
find them.
box.
No one kept the boxes. So to find all the different boxes is some part that I love. To think that these were on a shelf.
I
in a
know.
shop
I
somewhere.
totally get it. There was a fantastic maker in. I don't know what the camera world Rolls Royce of cameras would be. What would be the best?
Leica probably.
Leica, okay. Well, in woodworking terms, a woodworking plane, there was a company called Norris, and there's a lovely Norris plane for sale on eBay at them, and it's been on for sale a long time in its box. And it's just like, yeah, if I've got to spare a few thousands, and it's a
Yes.
number of thousands, but you just don't see them in the box.
No.
And that's a woodworking tool, so nobody kept the box.
No.
Whereas I should imagine you'll find probably more because
But
if
these were
somebody's
very cheap cameras. These were probably the
yeah,
cheapest cameras you
but
could probably buy.
but it still would have been somebody's pride and joy.
Yeah, this would have
and
been.
that's why the box has survived.
Yes.
It was somebody's pride and joy, wasn't it?
Yeah, might be cheap, but it was something probably a prized possession at the
Yes,
time.
exactly.
It was a child who this would have been their first camera,
Yeah.
and they wanted to keep it. It looked as they might have been the
These
first person
are-
they knew who got them.
These are beautiful, James. I'm loving it. That's it for today. I'm not going to get anything else done. It's just blown me away.
But then, interestingly, after World War II, where there was import taxes on exporting goods to Europe,
Yes.
Coronet in Birmingham paired with the French company Tirante in Paris, and they got them to make their cameras so that they could avoid import duty.
Oh,
into
right.
Europe.
It's
But
licensed
we-
to them. Yeah,
But,
okay.
but at this point, you've got. I mean, you can see the design of the box is
Yeah.
beautiful, but they also they were very good and stylish with the actual cameras they created. They're box cameras,
Yeah.
so boring box, but the fronts
Oh.
are stunning metal plates on there. We love the colours of some of these are gorgeous.
Oh, I've got to stop you and say, Joe, I'm so glad you told me to come. I'm so glad you told me to come, because this is just because I'm a maker and I'm a collector.
Yes.
I totally get the box side of it. I really do. It's just I spent a lot of. I shouldn't be saying this. I bought a plane a few years ago and spent a lot of money on it because it was in the box.
Yes.
And instruction leaflets. Do you find instruction
yes.
leaflets are the?
Say some of these are some leaflets, and I've got a folder full of the instruction manuals from a lot of these cameras in an
Yes.
album because they're fascinating.
They are
amazing.
But people would lose those. I mean,
Yes.
the boxes would go. Instructions would probably go before the box.
Yes.
But I'm loving it. I think you're a star. You're an
Whereas
absolute star.
Coronet also made a lot of cheap cameras.
Yeah,
These,
what are these little things?
Let me move that out of the way. So
I've
that
got
you
to
can
say,
see.
these things are about 2.5 inches tall.
Yes, those are Coronet midgets. Now, if you show a camera collector anywhere in the world that camera, they'll know it.
Yeah.
They're world famous
And
cameras.
that took a picture.
They're from the about 1932, 1938.
And they look Bakelite.
They are Bakelite.
Right, okay.
Coloured Bakelite. Kind of a novel. They are a novelty camera, even though I think the company really didn't see them as that. But they're made in basically 5 colours: black, green, brown, blue, and red. But then within that, you then get variations of that. So you can see there's a very dark olive green, a bright, vivid green.
And that olive green is beautiful.
And then a mid green. You got red and black.
Yes.
Red with brown, red with orange flecks.
And then the cases.
And then all the cases. Have cases that were made for the cameras.
They sort of look leather, but are they something like they are?
They're leather cases that were in the colour of the camera.
Oh, blimey! I've got to ask: can you still get these? Do they still pop up?
You can still buy those online, yeah.
And roughly, what would that?
You can pick up a basic black midget. The thing is, the problem with Bakelite is it gets chipped and broken very easily. So, but you can probably still pick a black midget up for about £30 or £40.
Well,
without any cracks or chips on a good day. But then the blue is the rarest.
Is it?
If you're looking at a blue midget, then you are looking at parting. And if you had a case with it, probably parting with getting off for £500. But that's not the most expensive coronet camera out there. We have it.
Oh, here we go.
This one.
So the one in the case.
A Cambrella.
Oh my life, we didn't see this.
It's a black coronet midget that they created a connector for.
I'm just trying to get good light on this. I've got so much reflection of my shirt. Go on.
They created a connector for that they then sold on top of an umbrella. The umbrella here is a 1930s umbrella, but it is a replacement umbrella that I've bought separately.
Yeah.
The camera and the
was an original.
Is original.
Wow.
It was made in 1936 and shown at the British Industries Fair, which was part in Olympia, but the industrial exhibition was down at Castle Bromwich. It appears, though, that this never really went into full production. I was told recently that only 12 of these black ones were made.
Oh, it's brilliant. It's brilliant.
These are something that have probably come up in the last 20 years, less than a handful of times.
That's mad.
A very, very, very rare item.
It's a camera on top of an umbrella. It's... sorry.
But these, because of the rarity, they're worth thousands of pounds. Yeah. And
it's one of those things that you can't really put a price on it, because if you put a price on it, it's what somebody's prepared to pay. Yeah. But you've only got to have the 2 people want it, and it can go through the roof. Yeah. So
I mean, to say this is a camera that, when I first started collecting cameras and coronets, because my idea was to have every coronet camera that was ever made, and I've got over 100 different coronet cameras from that one company. This was one that was almost legendary to start with. It was one of those that people had read about and sort of as if, was this just someone having a joke or something? And it was only until I found an advert and then found an example of one that this is actual real camera. But this was one of those that I never thought I'd actually ever see one, let alone own.
How long have you had that?
I had that, I think it was the start of this year.
And how happy were you when you?
It was at an auction, and not an eBay type auction. It was a proper auction company who had a sale that they put online. Yeah. I have never been so nervous. I was physically shaking while bidding on it.
I've been there. Yeah.
It's the most nervous I've ever been for anything, because it was one that I hoped I could get, but I never thought that I'd be able to get. So
that's the one you'd grab if you had to run out of here.
Yes.
Now. Yeah. Fantastic. James, do we need there's some more bits over there. I want to finish on that. Go on, sorry. I want to finish on your lamp, because I love your lamp.
The lamp's not made in Birmingham.
It doesn't matter. We'll finish on the lamp.
So as well as the cameras, it's what's come out of the cameras.
Yes.
Well. So what we have here is I've brought a small range of photographic studios run by women.
Oh, okay.
Of the over 700 photographic studios in 19th century Birmingham, I've only found about 30 that were female run. and it's important to look at them. Then we also have a very interesting guy called Napoleon Cerrone, a Canadian who moved to New York, who then moved to Europe, and then moved to Birmingham, where he became a photographer. After the 4 years he was in Birmingham, he then moved back to New York. He became probably the first celebrity photographer.
Oh, okay.
He became so famous. He paid famous people, took their portraits, and sold them to people who wanted a bit like we do now. We want to get a piece of a celebrity.
Yeah.
We want a selfie now, or want an autograph. At that point, you would then get, I'd like a photograph of this celebrity.
Wow.
And the ones he took, that's Nikola Tesla. It's one of the iconic
is that
photographs.
Tesla? Okay,
Tesla.
right.
Oscar Wilde,
Oscar
that's
Wilde,
an iconic.
yeah.
He took those photos.
Wow.
For 4 years he was
Wow.
in Birmingham, and that's where he honed his skills as a photographer.
Because yes, I've seen that image.
Yes.
I've seen, and he took it. Look at.
And then these are a couple of interesting ones, because these are both images of an actress called Kate Bateman, who was a child prodigy for Barnum's Circus in America.
Okay.
And she moved to the UK and became a very respected Shakespearean and female actress.
Oh.
And he, while he was in Birmingham, took photos of her for promotional purposes for her, and also to sell to people who wanted a picture. They might have seen her perform in a theatre, and it's like, well, would you like to have a photograph of her as well?
I love the women in photography, so I bet Jo was all over this,
Yes.
wasn't she? Bless her.
Harold Baker was a very famous Birmingham photographer, took part in the Warwickshire Photographic Survey of recording life in Birmingham and Warwickshire. And these are some original salt prints, probably dating from the early 1880s or 1890s.
These are salt prints?
Yes.
Wow.
But they're lovely because they are just general pictures of everyday life
Yes,
in
yes.
rural Warwickshire. You've got just people standing by the horse and carriage. This one, obviously, the guy on the horse is looking. But he's blurred. You can see he's looking towards the camera. It would have been unusual.
Yes.
But this is just general. This is the real life.
It is, isn't it?
This isn't as you said, this isn't the posed life. This isn't the grand buildings of Birmingham or Warwickshire.
Oh, that's beautiful.
But these are just his standard buildings and standard rural everyday life that he photographed.
And somebody, yes, enjoying it and enjoying taking the photographs of.
Yes.
Oh, I know who that is.
Yeah, Whitlock had got the first license in Birmingham and Warwickshire to produce photographs in 1851.
Right.
They bought the Beard patent, and Whitlock's ran for nearly 100 years in the city. But one of the things Whitlock did is they took pictures of the great and the good. They had photographs that were taken they had royal appointment for Queen Victoria and Prince Albert.
Yeah.
We've got a picture of the famous Birmingham evangelist, I suppose we'd call him, George Dawson.
Oh, it's not who I thought it was. Sorry. Okay.
Like Dickens.
No, I was going to say. It's not. I'm not
But
going to
it's George Dawson. He owned or he ran a church where all the great and the good, your Chamberlain family went to his church.
Yeah.
And a lot of your well-to-do, socially aware businessmen in Birmingham went to his
Yes.
church. He was part of the civic gospel, the
Right.
responsibility of trying to improve people's lives. But Whitlock took that. There you got a picture of Gladstone, the Prime Minister, again taken by Whitlock of Birmingham. More somberly, this is a photo of a deceased child that Whitlock took at a time where people wanted to remember a baby or a child, or even possibly, we even think with grandparents as well, that there was a whole Victorian fascination with, of course, the macabre and the dead.
Yeah.
And this is called an example of memento mori, remembering
Right,
the dead.
okay.
So
Yeah.
they used to someone would specifically get a photographer to come and take photos. You find sometimes that if you'd had a new child, a baby, and a grandparent had died, that they would then get a photographer to come in and put the baby on their dead grandparent, holding it as a kind of
Yeah.
to remember. And
It's something to hang on
kind
to.
of now to thought of as kind of macabre and a bit weird and strange to do that.
Something
but at the
to
time,
hold on to.
But it's something to be able to,
Yeah.
as a memory.
Yes.
And especially as
Wow. Well, that is. And what's that?
well, that's South Birmingham College, but I've positioned the photograph of what was there previously, which was a
right, okay.
photographic studio, which is That's the front of this is the back.
Oh, okay.
This was taken in 1974. That would have been their photographic studio from Baker's that ran at the start of the
Right.
20th century. Notice it looks like a greenhouse.
Yeah.
Plenty of light coming in. You needed
Yes.
it for photography, especially in the winter months where they didn't have lighting. They needed to use as much natural light as possible.
Yeah.
So this would have been Baker's original photographic studio in
Brilliant.
there, and say it's now been demolished and part of South Birmingham College.
Brilliant. Right. We need to wrap up really. I do. Let's do this. So what's
What we've done is all of these the Cardiff seats you've seen there, they would have literally been studios where they had a backdrop.
Yes.
It could be anything. A lot of classical Greek, or inside of a stately home, or a garden. So what we've just done here is recreated it with a
backdrop,
modern
yeah.
backdrop, which would have been there.
Yes.
They would have had something to pose with. What
Yes.
we've got here, I've put a Lancaster camera, Le Merveilleux camera, dating from probably about 1878 to 1880, quarter plate size.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It's a beautiful camera. We've got the Lancaster Ivorine plaques on. We've also got the company Kilburn, the opticians in London, who would have sold it as well,
Right.
which is kind of nice to have. It's on a Lancaster tripod as well that they would have sold with the cameras, virtually a kit.
So it's a nice set, isn't it?
It's a nice set.
Yeah. Beautiful.
And we've also got with it, well, I've got a nice example of a Victorian hall table,
Yes.
but also a Kodak lamp. I think these were made in about the 1970s. Kind of reproduction Tiffany. They're
Yes.
officially made by Kodak, but it's such a beauty. Even though I now only collect photographic material in Birmingham and camera equipment in
You
Birmingham,
can't not.
I can't. I had this before when I collected
Yeah.
general
Yeah.
cameras, including Kodak, and it's something that is just so beautiful.
Yes.
It's a piece of it's in my lounge. It's been in my lounge for
Yeah.
about 20 years now. That I just it may not be what I collect, but
It's beautiful.
It's
I get it.
beautiful.
I get it.
um,
Oh, well done. Well done. I love it. Right, we're going to wrap up. And you're only open till tomorrow? That's
yes, yeah, 3 days
So
this year.
3 days. It's not much, is it?
No,
Have you had many people in?
yes, it's been really good actually.
Great. And that guy that before we started, he's coming back tomorrow. And oh well, James, I'm just so glad that Jo called me yesterday to see how I was doing with the camera, and I'm just so glad she told me where she was going and what she was
Yes.
doing, and because it's brilliant. I love your collection. You've got it seriously bad. I love your collection.
I really have.
But yeah,
It's one when
But
I started. I used to collect just general cameras.
yes,
I used to start collecting cameras because I had a couple owned by my gran, but it got to a point where there was nothing that drew me to them. I
Yeah.
mean, I bought Coronet midgets originally because they were kind of coloured and pretty,
yeah,
and I had Kodaks as a beautiful 1930s Art Deco Kodaks which were enamelled and everything.
yeah,
But it got to a point where there was no focus to the collection.
yeah,
And because I'm from Birmingham and I've got a few Birmingham cameras, I thought, okay, let's start and collect cameras made in Birmingham. And I thought it was going to be something I maybe picked up 1 or 2 every month or 2.
yeah.
And I didn't realise the scope. This exhibition shows
I know,
the scope of
I
it.
know.
And this is only the start. This is
Well,
a snapshot of what Birmingham made.
I totally get what you're doing because I've done the same thing in woodworking planes. I collected Stanley planes, which were made in America, and didn't want the English ones because they were the newer ones. And then I found Preston planes. Edward Preston was on Snow Hill and just inside the Jewellery Quarter, and he made, and I'm going to do a video about it, he made the best woodworking planes in the world. I'm not going to let anybody else. He did better than Stanley, and yet Stanley became the more popular because of America, and they went out of business in the 30s. But some of those planes, I've got some now that are not that old, that are the grandchildren of the original because of the companies that they went through.
Yes.
And you've probably got similar with some of your cameras that were made by and the later ones, and you can see the evolution. I totally get it. Because I mean, I'm sort of from 10 miles away from here. originally from Halsowen and in Bromsgrove now, but my workshop's in Stourbridge, and having that connection to the city, to the second city in your country, and sort of holding on to something that was made years ago that does something. Yours can take pictures, mine shave pieces of wood, and it's just fascinating. Right, we're going to go because I'm at 50 minutes.
Yes.
So is there anything else you want to?
That's it, actually.
Is it?
Say one thing. Say I'd love to be able to
Okay.
is try and get that camera is actually on eBay at the moment, but it's probably a 1850s camera.
Oh,
with a
okay.
lens that's labelled as a Leica.
That's similar to Joe's lens,
Yes,
actually, that I'm
but
doing.
I'd say I say it's going to too much, but it's be kind of one of those to either have a real or a reproduction. One of those cameras, sliding box. From the 1850s.
Dovetailed, lovely to see. Dovetailed, yes, I can see why it's early. Lovely split in the mahogany there, which is sort of bound to happen. And that's on eBay at the moment.
Yeah, that one's on eBay.
Is it? Going to go for a lot of money.
He wants $4,000 for it.
Does he? Well,
to be honest, the lens is marked Elisha Mander, which is in Birmingham. But it's probably a French lens that he's rebadged, but it might not be. He made lenses.
Right.
But the camera is probably a period camera, but it's no knowing who made that. What we'd have to do is remove the lens, and just see what the screw holes are doing there.
See the history of it.
If there's literally one or two sets of screw holes there, you know pretty much it's going to be an original from that era.
Yes.
And the chances are it probably would have been made in Birmingham. He's not going to go outside the city to get something like that made.
No.
He was a Birmingham company.
I love the fact that it's got no bellows. It's just an inner sleeve and an inner box.
Moves. Yes.
I'd love to make one of those.
Yeah, I'd love to. Yes.
I'd love to make one of those. That's great.
I'll have to get you to do one at some point.
Well, I'm here because I'm a woodworker and I make things and I repair and restore cameras and that's easy. Without sounding, that's easy to make.
But it'd be nice. I'd like to have one purely because at some point I might find an Elisha Mander lens.
Well, that's it. I mean,
an attack. But even so, I might find a lens that's unmarked from the 1850s or the right period.
Yeah.
So I can at least show people this was a very early.
Yeah.
This is what an early camera.
And it is really. It's about the fact that box fits tight inside one of these and not the other, and it's you can squeeze it, you can open and shut for focusing. Yes. No bellows. No. So pre-bellows.
This is pre-bellows.
That's the thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, I got it. I totally get it. Right, James, you're a star. Good to meet you.
Great to meet you.
And we will. And I'll put this. I'm going to put this on tonight. This will be on YouTube tonight. It won't take much editing. I won't edit anything out of this, and it'll just be on YouTube. So brilliant. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you for coming.
See you again. Cheers.